Listen, I can prove that this season actively made the show worse, going character by character. And also, my headcanon for MM's powers, end of the season, is better than anything any of these writers have ever written, probably in their lives, probably will ever write in their lives. So I just want to start off by saying that the show overall was generally terrible. I only stayed for Anthony Starr. God bless him. Amazing actor. I want to see how his story resolved.
If you were to design the ultimate torture device, use a disaster movie. He's just phenomenal. Turbulent wicker basket.
And we are back with another episode of Riffing Film. I'm the Riffing Film guy. This is my friend Chris Hidden Valley Ranch. Today we're going to be talking about Boys, final season, final episode, our gripes, what we loved, what we hated. Which one of us is right? Was the show great? Was it gold? Was it satisfying? Or was it unsatisfying slop trash? That's what we're going to decide here today. Hey, Hidden Valley, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I know your neck is hurting from all that gluck you've been giving the show, trying to keep it up. I'm not gonna leave that joke in. That's too dirty. I was unsatisfied, did not enjoy it. There was a lot about the show itself that was great and then turned to trash, in my opinion. Chris, on the other hand, thought it was fantastic, really thought the ending was satisfying on many levels, and he has a more optimistic and maybe higher-headed view about the show and the future of the brand, like a tentpole, perhaps. Chris, you have the floor. Tell us what you like.
So as Aaron said, I fully believe in the series finale of The Boys. Like, it's a little above average. Like, I do think there are great things. Like, I think how the Deep died, perfect. Like, he doesn't need to be some drawn-out battle where it's barely win or loses or anything at all like that. He needed to die. So, I pay attention to all the interviews and stuff like that. Kripke came out and said that the octopus that killed the Deep is Ambrosia's cousin. So he put a scene in there for that in the episode, but they ended up cutting it. They were supposed to introduce him as Ambrosia's cousin and everything like that, and he took out the Deep as like revenge for her. And I even think the fact that, not to get too explicit, but if we go back to the first introduction of the Deep with Starlight, it was him forcing himself into her mouth, and the Deep went out by something being forced into his.
Okay, you know what? I did not think about that, and even though it is gross as is the whole show,
That's The Boys.
that is the way to get away.
And I think it was even, like, I love the fact that Starlight even tried to give him one more chance. Like, I know you're scared, I know you're alone, but, like, come on, you gotta see it now.
That was the funniest joke of the finale, when he's just like, you made some bad decisions, you have to take responsibility, and he's like, no!
Yes.
That was really funny. I really liked that.
That was great. I think that scene was well done. I think a lot of the deaths were well done. I know this is a previous episode, but I love Frenchie's death. I'm upset they took out the part of how he actually died. But the fact he looked Homelander in the eyes and said, "You've never danced before," loved it. That was a perfect line for Frenchie to go out on. I know that wasn't his final words, but could you
He
have
had a couple final farewells, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have to pause you really quick. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Pepper Cream Soda, Zero Sugar. Like Dr. Pepper, Zero Sugar Cream Soda.
I'm more of a Fresca guy.
Delicious. Of course you are. Yeah.
So they didn't show it on the camera. What ended up happening is it was kind of brutal. Because if you look behind the scene photos, you see like Frenchie's actor had the fake stomach with blood and everything. So originally Homelander was going to like punch him in the stomach, rip out his intestines, and like press him up against the plutonium.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they cut that, I guess, Boys. I don't know why, but I thought that was well done. I know no one likes Sister Sage. But, here's the first thing you got to do with anytime. It's like with Reed Richards. Like, you can write the smartest character in the universe, but he can only be as smart as the writer.
Yes.
Like, you can't, and that's the hard part, and that's why I think a lot of writers somehow back themselves into corners, is because you can't go on past, you can do research and things like that, but you can't go past your own intelligence to write a character. And I think they did great because every hero on that show has a weakness. Sage's weakness is love. And that's what messed up all of her plans. It was with Godolkin and Gen V. I know I'm going to a different show. When he lost his mind and started going crazy and all that stuff, she didn't know how to react because she loved him. And all she could do was walk away. Soldier Boy's love for, I can't think of her name.
Stormfront?
Clara. Yeah. his love for Clara is why he gave the compound or V1 to Homelander, because she didn't plan on that. Like anytime her plans went wrong, it's because of love. And if you listen to her talk about, hey, I told my parents and everyone that their dreams are stupid, she probably never really experienced love except from her grandmother, who she tried to save, and she couldn't. So I think that was that. I think she doesn't understand love, so that would kind of mess it up. And love is even poets will say that's a variable. You can never solve for love. But I think she was great. She's one of my favorite characters throughout the series. First off, women in power, that's my thing. And two, like just all of I liked watching her toy with everyone because that's what she was doing. Like I love the fact that her entire plan was an episode of the Twilight Zone. Like that is hilarious. She just wants to be in a bunker alone with her books and study or read those at the end of the world and have a genocide. Like I love that. Firecracker, her final. I know again we're going back, but even her, like her death was so good. Like she was killed by the freedom or by the symbol of freedom for her country, by her new false prophet. So I mean, just the beautiful symbol. Like I just think if you look at The Boys as a layer or as a show up front, it's stupid. It's not. It's like a Rick and Morty. Like if you just watch Rick and Morty and you don't look at the sublayers in the context, it's just about random drunken stupidness. But if you take a minute, like when one of my favorite episodes of Rick and Morty is when Sanchez tries to kill himself after Unity, and he has that breakdown, and the only reason he doesn't is because he passes out drunk.
Can you feel it?
Yes, one of my favorite songs.
Yeah,
and like that was beautifully well done. And I think honestly, I feel like Kripke studied Rick and Morty a little bit because if you look at The Boys, none of them, I don't think any of them could qualify as a full hero. If you really look at it, none of them are the pure like Luke Skywalker hero archetype. Like really think about even Huey is the most innocent of. Even if you look at Huey, he's still the most innocent of them, and he killed his father, like patricide. It had to, and it was a peaceful thing, but even him, he did that. You were talking about Mother's Milk earlier with the powers. I mean, maybe he's actually the most innocent out of all of them but I think he's coming back. Ryan are coming back in Vought. I'm calling it now, Vought Rising Season 2.
Okay. Interesting take. Okay. There's a take.
I'm pretty sure, because if you go back to the line with him and Sam Edgar last time they spoke, he was like, if you do that, I'm going to kill you. Like if you take back over Vought, I'm going to find you and I'm going to shoot you in the head.
He did say that.
Yeah. So, I mean, he laid the groundwork. And, I don't think Ryan lost his powers. He doesn't have any compound V in his blood. So how would he lose his powers?
That's an interesting take.
And I think it's like a thing where it's like, I don't want anyone to know I have powers. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to get like a Spider-Man thing where he's doing something real fast and then like Mother's Milk walks around the corner or like catches him or something like that. And then it's going to reveal his powers. And I think the ultimate end of Season 2 of, and I'm going way ahead, of Vought Rising Season 2 is Soldier Boy is going to have to choose between Clara and Ryan.
Clara wanted.
Exactly. I think he's going to have to pick between. She's still alive. She's not dead. She's not dead.
Yeah, if she died off screen.
Yeah. No, and you don't kill a character like that off screen. And if you even look at it, there's set photos of her in her Stormfront costume.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was Lady Liberty first, so it can't be a flashback or anything. Anyway, I know I'm going all the way.
No, it's good.
But that's what I liked about the show is I don't think it was meant to be a finale. It wasn't meant to wrap up everything nice and beautiful. Yes, and I think we spoke earlier about how I feel about the producers interfering too much. Because I think they were scared of what happened with Gen V and it not being that popular and Vought Rising following the same trend. So they're like, hey, we need to hype this show up right now. Like we need to get them interested, make them wonder, get them questioning, get them curious and everything like that. Like, so when the show comes out, they're like, oh, what happened? Who was that guy on the wall? That was a plant guy and giving off the pheromones and all that stuff. Why do Bombsight and Soldier Boy hate each other so much? Like it laid the groundwork for those questions. It even, the relationship between Golden Geisha and Bomb's like, I'm curious about that. But I don't know. I'm really excited, especially after watching the Vought Rising trailer. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think one season is going to take place in the past. I think after that, they're going to shoot forward to the present. Because you don't leave Soldier Boy alive for no reason. You don't leave Ryan wondering about his past.
He wasn't in the finale at all.
No, and I think that was on purpose. And I also think that's because Jensen Ackles is expensive. I from watching this season, I can tell they probably cut their budget to shreds. We didn't have that many set locations. They were reused from other seasons. Even the costumes, there weren't really. Oh, Father's was a new costume, and if you see, he's never outside of the costume.
Yeah.
I really think they slaughtered their budget. I'm going to be honest, and that's the other thing why I'm trying to give it some grace is because I think Kripke had to set up, Vought Rising. I'm sure there's probably some setup for Boys Mexico. We'll find out once that comes out. He had to give some kind of hope for the Gen V crew because they're going to be back. They're not going to be back in Gen V, but I think they'll be back in Vought Rising or Boys Mexico. And I think that's what the issue is. He had so much. I feel like he walked into his desk one day and there was a stack like this from the producers. These are the requirements because even Kripke said during season 1, I just want 5 seasons. I don't want to go past that. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want to get. And I think he got the 5 seasons and they were like, this is making a lot of money. We need more money. Give us more money. How can we get this? And, I think it's kind of like the George Lucas treatment. It's you built this world. Now you love it. You care about it and everything like that. Do you let it go and let someone else take over? Or do you put up with the BS from the bosses making you do these little things so you still have some control? It's like Kevin Feige on the set of X-Men. Bryan Singer fought him on everything. Kevin Feige had to go behind Bryan Singer and sneak in comics to all the actors so they could understand the characters a little bit better. Now, that's where a situation where producer interference is a good thing. But I think, sometimes it can be bad. But I think overall it did a great job. The only death, I will say the only death where I was a little bit like, was Oh Father. And the only reason his death got me is because, I get Mother's Milk is strong. I get that part. But the only excuse I can think of is Oh Father didn't want to kill anyone, really. If you notice, he never really wanted to kill him. Even when it was those people in the previous episode, the test footage of Homelander.
Yeah, he wanted to convert them.
Exactly. He's scared. He doesn't want to kill, but I think he was going to attack Huey with a low base register, to knock him back. And maybe it was low enough that Mother's Milk was strong enough to stop it. But that's the only part where I'm kind of how does that work?
Yeah, that is one of the many problems that I had. They build up this Oh Father character, which was mildly interesting. Could have been more interesting.
I need a spin-off.
Yeah, because his power is to convert people, convince people, and they have this beautiful voice. He's able to get people to think his way. And I heard some headcanon that part of the reason why Homelander was having those visions that he just randomly started having for no reason was because of Old Father's influence. He influenced him to become want to be a god, inadvertently or advertently to want to be a god. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, literally that Chekhov's ball gag.
It's hilarious. Don't get me wrong.
It was so, but for me, it was just so unsatisfying and such a pointless character for all that, just to have him die quickly, by some contrived ball gag. Why did Mother's Milk, how did he recognize what it was, what it could do, and then he pulls it across his mouth and is strong enough, his arms don't go flying off because he's a soup, right? His arms don't go flying off and it doesn't go shooting into Huey's face instantly, killing him, and it instead kills Oh Father.
That was my only death I didn't like. I'm not gonna.
That was a glaring grievance. I'm glad that you agree on. I think do you have more? Or maybe we can go back and forth because I have a lot.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right. Here we go. I'm gonna have to take one of these. Ugh. Bloody diabolical.
That was real fast. I'm sorry to cut you off when Huey did that like impersonation. That was great. Like
That was fun.
I cracked up. Like, that was great.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Here we go. Act 1. I'm gonna have to frame my grievances so it doesn't just sound like a list of complaints. For a satisfying television show, we have an antagonist and we have a protagonist. The real antagonist of this show is and should be Vought. Vought is the antagonist. That is the villain of the show. Vought is the reason that Soups exists in the first place.
Yeah.
Arguably, Homelander is one of the first and most awful victims of Vought. He was raised and created by Vought for the purpose that he served, and he went off the rails later. But it is because of Vought that we're all in this, that in the audience are in this situation. Okay, and I think the show forgot that, which cascaded and spiderwebbed into a ton of problems in the show. Another thing: continuity and changes. Characters should start in one place, and they should change as the story goes on, as their arcs go on, to bring them to a new and different changed place. Like there's the story circle. Dan Harmon talks about the story circle, Community, and Rick and Morty, and that is a common thread for stories. There's a story arc, right? And in a lot of ways, most of the cast, with maybe one or two glaring exceptions, does not change significantly from the first time they're on screen to the last time they're on screen, in my opinion. Huey, if you were to drop season 5 Huey into season 1, he's exactly the same character, in my opinion. He's making the same personality, same jokes, same thought process about Butcher, and he just talks the same and acts the same. The only thing that's changed is that he, instead of being the protagonist, became a side character in the show. Instead of being like, the audience entryway into this world where he's clever and thinking of doing things, and he makes all these decisions to just being a side character. Really, they didn't do a whole lot with him that was interesting or that added to him. Same thing with a lot of the characters. I'm going to go through them character by character, but just Huey as an example here, he didn't really change. You hear how he acts and speaks and what he does in season 5 versus season 1. Not a lot has changed. Expectations and marketing versus what is delivered. This is pretty egregious. And working in film marketing myself, marketing talks to the show. They talk to each other. There's conversations that are had. Somebody is keeping eyes on that, right? So when you get a poster of Homelander above the world and it's exploding and he's standing over it, and another poster of him on top of the White House and a bunch of Soups behind him, and you say scorched earth, diabolical scorched earth, and then you give me scorched carpet. That is a mismatch of the expectation you set and what you deliver. You did not deliver what you expressed to me that you were going to deliver. You didn't do it. You just didn't. You let us down. You didn't do it. Whatever the case may be. Act 2, the character assassinations. And here we go. We're going to start with Huey. Side character who never grew. I would love to see him specialize more, like in the first season. First season was such good television and storytelling. I get why they can't do that all the time, but the way that they handled the Invisible Man and solving the problem. Okay, like he's impenetrable, he's invulnerable. You can't kill him this way, you can't kill him that way, but we've got him, and all these problems. It was so interesting, and the problem solving was so fascinating. And then what ended up happening, kind of accidental versus like planning. It was just so fascinating to me, and they stopped doing that almost entirely after that first couple seasons, really. Especially the first season, the way that they did it was so impressive and interesting. And like they have the boys who have more knowledge than the general populace, who are able to accomplish things that other people can't accomplish. You know what I mean? It's very important that they have that ability, and I would have loved to seen them taking down different soups or different members of the Seven. Like, okay, we and then the finale culminating in, all right, we taken everything we learned, we killed this character and that character in these creative ways, and then now everything that we've learned, all these puzzle pieces come together, and that's how we defeat Homelander. You know, I thought that would have been way more interesting than what they ended up doing. Starlight starts off shiny, turns to jaded, and not in like a good way. Like, I get that she turns into what's that other girl's name? The Wonder Woman.
Oh, Queen Maeve.
Yeah, Queen Maeve. Like, I get that she's very similar to Queen Maeve, but she's just like a vaping, pro-abortion, like, you know, like hillbilly, like kind of trashy, like whatever. Just they kind of like flattened her character, turned her into a very like two-dimensional character towards the end, and not to get like, you know, messed up about characters' faces, but there is a thing about continuity that we mentioned before. Her face significantly
She has a sickness,
changed.
so be careful what you say.
Huh?
She's very ill, so be careful what you say.
Well, I'm not trying to say anything rude, but her face significantly changed from the first season to the last season.
So did Mark Hamill's between episode 4 and episode 5.
What's that?
So did Mark Hamill's between episode 4 and episode 5.
Episode 4 and episode 5?
Remember, he was in a massive car accident. He had to have facial reconstructive surgery. That's why the scene of like episode 5 starts with him in back to tank, and after being attacked by the Wampa was to try and make an excuse and hide for that.
I'm glad you brought that up. We never address Starlight's facial change. She looks totally different.
But why should we?
Because it's noticeable. It takes you out.
You never addressed Mother Milk losing his muscle.
Acting on screen, and I'm sorry, I'm just so distracted by how different her face looked without any explanation. If they would have like even one line to say, "Oh, I went on this new diet," or "I did A, B, C, or D happen," then at least like, okay, there's a reason.
But why does a female character have to do that over the male character?
Changing a character's look, I think, is just bad writing and presentation.
That's not her. She can't help that. You know,
it doesn't matter if she can help it. It still hurts the story.
Can I ask you a question?
It still hurts your character and storytelling. You have to
let me ask you a question. What about Mother's Milk?
Yeah, he got skinnier, but he doesn't look. That was also slightly distracting to his character, but he didn't look that different. His face was like a little bit skinnier. He got a little skinnier shape. I'd be like, okay, the guy's on the land. He's running around like he's skinnier. He was also a little bit distracting, but I mean, like those things. I can almost explain away because, like, okay, he lost weight. They're on the run. He's like constantly moving around, whatever. Like, okay, maybe that makes sense, but wasn't that drastic. Like Starlight, her look drastically changed without any explanation or even addressing it, which I think would have been like at least like just like even one throwaway line would have like solved all those problems that you have in your head. Like why? Like it's just distracting.
I don't know. I find it a little like, why is it more noticeable on a female than a male?
It's not that it's more noticeable on a female than a man. It's just it's obvious to anybody. It was distractingly obvious. It's like a common complaint. And there's so many, unfortunately, it's sad, but there's so many memes about her like looking so different. And it just is, it's true. She just does. And it's unfortunate. Whether it's her fault or not, like they should have at least put one throwaway line in there, just saying something about how her looks changed.
But why?
I think that would have really helped her character. It would have helped her character. It would help me not be distracted by like, man, like this looks like a completely different character than the character from season 1. And I can't explain why. It was very distracting. Okay, and then let's move on from her. The last thing about her was she never really got to use her powers in an interesting way. And I get like maybe budget constraints or whatever, but like I never saw her use her powers in a creative way or get to really like unleash those powers like in a very interesting way. Unless, correct me if I'm wrong, I just never got to see that. It was kind of unsatisfying to see her character that way. And then also the end of the show, I thought I was like rolling my eyes so hard. Like they open this music store and then she's super pregnant, like 8 months pregnant. Okay, let me go put myself in danger because girls get it done. Girls can go work. The
Jessica Jones.
Huh?
Miss Mark, like so many heroes throughout comics when they've been pregnant, They don't care. They still go out into battle.
I'm not a fan of that trope. It's just if a woman is 8 months pregnant, she shouldn't be going out trying to save the world. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense other than just to screw the patriarchy or to say women should work. Like gay feminism, women can work instead of enjoying the magic of being pregnant and enjoying childbearing, and let the man be the hunter and let the women be together and making the home. I think that's a beautiful thing. And that's just a personal preference. I just wasn't a fan of that. And it's just like, it seems ridiculous. Like you're 8 months pregnant, you're going to go put yourself in harm's way against other soups. It just like it didn't really make any sense. It seemed contrived and not in a good way. Okay. Frenchie. Going to do a very short one on Frenchie. Frenchie, at best, was an inconsistent character, in my opinion. He loves Kimiko. They're just friends. Now he's gay. Now he loves Kimiko again.
He's always been bisexual. Like they introduced his like polyamorous relationship in like season 2.
Okay, yeah, but it's just not very interesting. It's not good writing. It doesn't make it hurt his ending for me. I didn't feel much when he died. First of all, they killed him off screen, and you say, okay, they cut that scene. They shouldn't have. That's bad edit. That was a bad editing choice to kill him off screen. They gave him like 17 death like last words, and then in the very next episode, they start with his funeral and some very unfunny butthole jokes. Like, we can't even, like, if the death was supposed to affect me at all, I can't even be affected by his death because they're doing these, like, they're obsessed with butthole jokes, these corny butthole jokes that weren't even funny or interesting. Like, you can't even, like, mourn him properly. And then also the other contrived thing between him and Kimiko, they bring him back like, oh, she's not angry enough, which is bullshit, by the way, that she's not angry. She doesn't have anger in her heart. She's had anger in her heart for less throughout the whole entire show. Now all of a sudden she's not angry at Homelander for killing the only person that she loved, even though just a few episodes ago she was ready to kill it because someone was trying to kill Frenchie. Now she's not angry. And then we don't even have time to mourn him because he only died last episode. They bring him back and it's supposed to be some emotional scene like, no, the power of love is greater than the power of hate. How can I feel anything? I haven't had enough time to grieve him. He just died 1 episode ago, and earlier in this episode, you were making fun of him and making his death just like some comical farce. And now I'm supposed to feel like some emotional attachment to him when he comes back at Kimiko's time. It just wasn't very good writing. So, can I continue going on to Frenchie? MM was done. Was done well. MM had a good character arc. Good story. He was a leader. He started off as like, the lapdog butcher, and then he became a leader, and he grew and he changed, and he did a lot of things to protect his family. And you could see him like getting into that leadership role once they kicked Butcher out. They just benched him, and after Butcher betrays and kills Victoria Newman, and he's like evil. He's on his evil villain arc, which was very interesting. Like to see like them all collide back with Homelander at the end. That would have been interesting. But instead, at the end of season 4, after he does all that, they just put him back in the fold, and now he's regular Butcher again. Oh, Butcher, that's Butcher. I'm Butcher. I'm just diabolical. Like they just put him back. So the whole villain arc meant nothing. They put him back, and then MM, who was like clearly ready to take the leadership role, I'm just let them crackers figure it out. Let the crackers fight it over. Like, okay, dude. Like, please give me a break. So just such a wasted character. My headcanon for MM, instead of that awful backstory about his nickname and how he got his nickname, I thought that was so poorly done. First of all, it's a stupid nickname. It's not
Kids
even
are
like
stupid.
it
wasn't even Fat when I was a kid.
About mother's milk. Why is that such an insult? Like it was just stupid. It wasn't like it doesn't seem insulting enough that a little kid would say, and a little bit too clever for like a little kid to think of. This mother's milk. What kid says mother? Like it just was contrived and stupid. Would have been way more interesting. Here's my headcanon, right? Here's how The Boys should have ended. Okay. The whole series, Homelander, he's drinking milk, right? He's obsessed with breast milk and drinking milk. The key is the reason that Homelander is obsessed with breast milk is because breast milk is Homelander's kryptonite. He is weak to breast milk. That is his one weakness. That's why he loves drinking it, because it makes him feel weak and like a little baby and makes him feel good. And like it's like it's his little secret, right? And then MM has a secret power. He's got big giant nipples that squirt mother's milk. And then in the finale, he gets to use his secret power, his secret weapon, to squirt Homelander, and it's gross and disgusting and stupid, and weaken him, and then they could take him down however they want. I thought that would have been super cool twist. That would have been an unexpected twist and super cool.
It would have been a spit in the character's face if he ever had any power. He hates Vought. Vought destroyed his family.
Maybe he picked him up somehow, but just the mother's milk and then the Homelander drinking milk, there was a connection there. And I feel like they could have done something with that. That would have been way more interesting than what they did. Instead, they sidelined the character. He adopts Ryan for some reason. Have him and Ryan ever once spoken to each other?
Butcher asked him to take care of Ryan.
I don't think they've never spoken once. And then he adopts his little white boy
to take care of Ryan several times. Butcher asked him to take care of Ryan. He's like, if I'm going to do this, something's going to happen to me. Take care of Ryan. Make sure he's okay.
Okay, yeah, but they've never communicated like that. It just felt like just tacked on. Like there was no connection there that, oh yeah, of course now he's going to take care of Ryan. They never had any heart-to-heart moment or any conversation at all whatsoever.
Because it's a setup for another show. Mother's Milk arc isn't done.
You gotta complete the story arcs in your show before you start setting up other shows.
Okay, so you're telling me that
you don't have to complete the character, but have an arc.
So phase 1 of the MCU should have ended everything. No questions, no ties.
But they had arcs. Things changed. Tony Stark died.
Not in phase 1. He just died. He just died in phase. He's not in phase 1. Phase 1, Tony Stark's arc was not complete.
Like the snap happened, or lots of things changed. Lots of things changed in those movies. I can't think about those 37 movies in my head right now and decide which one was phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. That's like I can't. It's too much for me to think about. But things changed. The characters had arcs. They started somewhere, they ended somewhere else. There was reasons for it happening, and then they have another arc where more things change, and then the things they set up in the first arc happen in the second arc and the third arc. And it's so funny because the show started as a biting, scathing satire on like the superhero genre and the VCU and whatnot. And then just to do that anyway, by the end of the show, there's a word for that, like hypocrisy. Like they said, oh, look at that. It's so funny that they do all these spinoffs and it's so stupid and like the diversity stuff. And it's funny coming from Amazon, which literally has a diversity clause about how many speaking characters that have to be from diverse backgrounds or have to be gay and of a different race, non-white race.
Lord forbid ever feel represented on TV. I mean, that would just be crazy.
No, right? I'm just saying, like, they make fun of that in the show, but literally they work for a company that has those like rules in.
That's not just that company. That's every company.
But like you're making fun of it, but yet you're doing it.
He also made fun of terrible endings. You're saying there was a terrible ending, and he made fun of that in the show. Like, here's the thing: is The Boys evolved from just being about superheroes to being a political satire.
But it's not satisfying. And then Kimiko, quick about Kimiko, bad choice making her speak the way that she spoke. That was a bad choice. That's just bad writing. Just because it makes sense in universe, like diegetically, doesn't make it good writing. She could have learned to talk from listening to Shakespeare or from reading Reddit or from literally anything else. From watching Sherlock.
Me to learn how to speak, someone should use Shakespeare.
She could have learned. I'm saying they could have written her learning to speak in literally any way. They chose to have her learn to speak from TikTok. Also, she could understand.
Be a subtle comment on society.
Huh?
That could be a comment on society.
But it was a bad writing choice because it killed her character. Her character was mysterious and interesting and cool. And then every time she speaks, like just this awful, unfunny, brain rot, disgusting stuff.
That's TikTok.
It wasn't funny or interesting, but it was bad. It hurt her character. It was bad writing. Like they could have made a commentary any other way besides ruining a character. They ruined her character. They made her character awful. And then also about Kimiko, I think it was just so eye roll. And there was a great book that I read, Adventures in the Screen Trade about the job of screenwriting, which is to subvert expectation, to take a twist and put a new twist on top of it, because the audience is smart. The audience is trying to get to the finish line faster than you. And if they get to the conclusion before you, they have a hard time in their heart forgiving you for that. So in other words, if the audience sees the twist coming from a mile away and that exact thing happens that they expected to happen, they're going to be disappointed and upset. So when she suddenly gets this chest power, everybody knows, oh, I wonder what's going to happen there. She's going to use the chest power and depower Homelander. And then that's exactly what happens with no subversion of that expectation. Happens exactly that way in the most stupid, contrived way, right? Because you're telling me in season 3, Soldier Boy at the height of his power, Butcher and super teleporter fast Huey, all three of them, and Soldier Boy, the ultimate hero, by the way, ultimate fighter, ultimate hero, strong as Homelander, precursor, they can't take down Homelander, and he's able to get away. But then a weaker soup of Butcher and Ryan, who he just beat his ass like 2 episodes ago, and he came out of nowhere, out of the blue. Just Mary Sue came up to the fight. No, nothing. He's just all of a sudden, oh no, I'm a good guy now, and I'm gonna take you down. And then also, literally earlier in the season, Homelander sees Kimiko and lasers her legs off immediately. But then in the final fight, he just shoots people in the chest, and he can't move faster. He can't laser people's body parts off that he's done earlier this same season to that specific character. And also, he knew that Kimiko had the chest blast because somebody told him. So, like, he had forewarning that she had that. Why wouldn't he have flown away earlier?
He tried.
And also, seconds before the fight happened, he goes to outer space for the Elon Musk stand and groan. Oh my gosh, it was so obnoxious. Guy's obsessed. He's got extreme TDS. Like, it was obsessed with his Trump allegory and Elon Musk. He flies fake Elon Musk to outer space in 2 seconds, comes back, and then all of a sudden he can't fly fast. He's as fast as A-Train, lasering A-Train earlier this season, and all of a sudden now he's slow, and Butcher and Kimiko are as fast as he is. It's
okay,
just
so
completely
he's not as fast as A-Train.
Any sense? Huh?
He's not as fast as A-Train. If A-Train would have
Who's
not
catching up A-Train? He was lasering A-Train.
He lasered A-Train as he lasered A-Train as he was knocking Huey out of the way of the laser blast. And if you see, the laser was like that far from him. The laser had already traveled. He's not like Quicksilver where time stops completely when he moves. It slows down.
That literally happened earlier in the season. No. Time basically stopped while he was like traveling around, going super fast.
When? It was the only time.
And Huey's like laser, and he like moved him out of the way, and like time was like almost stopped, like super slow.
Yeah, but lasers.
And then he runs away and like gets aggro on Homelander for some reason. Homelander decides to go after A-Train and chases him down. Is able to chase him down. So he's almost
because A-Train tripped.
Before that, he was chasing him.
No, think about
on his ass.
Think about the time gap. Think about how long it took from when A-Chain crashed, went through the trees and everything like that, and then Homelander got there.
Bro, he was on his ass for a minute, bro. He was on his ass for a minute. He was on his butt.
It's like Flash is faster than Superman.
But he was on his butt for a minute. What I'm saying is he's that fast, and all of a sudden, next to Butcher and Kimiko, all of a sudden he's not fast at all.
He went to hightail it out of the room, and that's when Ryan comes in and slams him into the ground.
So slow, and Ryan's weaker than he's against weaker suits. There's no Soldier Boy even. There's weaker suits than Soldier Boy.
We don't know how strong Butcher is.
Stopped by 2, huh?
We don't know how strong Butcher is. Butcher went up against Soldier Boy like in season 4, season 3.
Soldier Boy is supposed to be the ultimate, right? He's the precursor to Homelander.
No, Homelander is stronger than Soldier Boy.
Immortal. And then also Homelander gets the V1 and nothing changes at all. Zero. You find this thing that they set up, the V1 thing that they set, so many plot points went nowhere. The virus was pointless. The V1 was pointless. Nothing changed. What I wanted to see from Homelander, and I'm going to move on to this, what I wanted to see from Homelander is like, where's the unleashed carnage? Same thing with the flight video. The flight video made him back down in earlier seasons, and then it's released and then they just wave away, oh, it's AI. It was a huge reveal, and then nothing came of it. He didn't change at all. He didn't go scorched earth on anybody. He didn't do any. He didn't take off the shackles and go nuts at all in any way. It was like very unsatisfying. Ryan, undeveloped. Huge, he really won't be a Homelander setup, right? For most of the show. Is he going to be like Homelander? Is he going to be a hero? And then 80% of the season, nowhere to be found. Confronts Homelander, lives, conveniently comes back at the last moment, and is adopted by MM, someone he's never spoken 2 words to. And like he's this angsty teen, and he just agrees to go with MM because that's what Butcher would have wanted. They've never even spoken. Like, why? What relationship do they have that he's adopting him? Just ridiculous. A-Train, best arc, obviously. A-Train is the best character in the show. Most satisfying beginning to end. He started off awful, and then and then he changed, and he helps the boys, and he's got all these struggles, and then at the end he rescues Huey, and then full circle he moves out of the way of that girl instead of hitting her, and that's what gets him killed. And then he looks Homelander in the face and he calls him pathetic and lame and awful. And he had a very satisfying death. Although I wish he wouldn't have died because he was such an interesting and cool character. It would have been amazing if they left it open-ended. But he died, and it was very satisfying. It was very cool. He was a great character. Loved his character. No notes for A-Train. A-Train, awesome. The Deep, consistently funny, ridiculous, awful character. Consistent throughout the whole show. He has every opportunity to do good, and he never chooses to do good. But then,
I think my favorite funny quote from him is, "Don't make a federal case out of it, Roe v. Wade."
That's a great joke. I mean, there's endless great jokes with the Deep. I think the beef with him and Second Noir was kind of contrived and just like lackluster. I get it was fine. It's just like character development in the last season. We already know who these characters are and how they operate, and also no consequences for killing Noir. Just nothing matters. Nothing matter. No choices matter at all anymore in the show. And also, he goes to fight Starlight, and then Starlight, instead of taking him a few blocks away, given the circumstances or whatever, takes him all the way to the beach, where in her mind would arguably where he would be the most powerful.
How?
Like he's a sea guy, and you just brought him to the place where he would be most powerful. She doesn't know anything about the beef that the sea creatures have with.
But I'm saying, like, if she stands on the beach, what is he going to do?
That is arguably where he has the most power. He's the ocean. He's the ocean guy. His whole thing is the ocean.
He can breathe underwater and talk to animals. So if I stand on land,
why would you bring him to the one place where he would possibly be the most powerful or hold?
I think it's a psychological thing because she didn't attack.
And also, there's no electricity over there, so she has no ability to use her powers. Arguably, there's no electricity out there. Why would she bring him there? It was completely contrived. And then the stupidest thing, the funniest part was when he goes she's like, take responsibility. He's like, no. And then she pushes him into and it was obvious from the minute she brought him to the beach, and then again, he didn't subvert our expectations. Obvious the minute you bring him to the beach that you're going to put him in the water and then he's going to be killed by some fish. That was obvious. Like boring writing. So boring. You telegraphed it and it happened exactly that way. It was stupid. And also was stupid, you're telling me that some regular octopus killed a guy who can eat bullets, right? Is super strong, super whatever. He's a soup. And you just a regular octopus just kills him? A regular secret.
I mean, they showed with translucent, doesn't matter how hard your skin is, if you go in a certain way.
Bro, it just was bad. And then he's swimming. The guy who swam down to the Mariana Trench can withstand that pressure and can swim all the way down there and back up. You're telling me that he can swim slower than me? Slower than you? That's not racist. I'm just saying. Probably can't swim that fast. But I'm just saying. Like, he can't swim? He's the fish guy. He can't swim. He's just slowly what? Didn't make any sense at all.
What was he going to do?
He swims super fast. It is stupid. And then they're saying, say her name. Say her name. Why would they be talking about that when literally they just had a billion sea creature genocide happen? Why wouldn't they be chanting about that? Why would they be chanting about this sea creature from 5 seasons ago? None of it made sense. It was all so contrived and boring. And it was just a very rushed, unsatisfying death for him. It just wasn't interesting. Wasn't like there was nothing to it for me. It was
So how would
unsatisfying
you have killed him?
for that character.
How would you kill him?
Any other way, like when he was the episode before, when like he had to go save that old guy in the water, and then he runs away, and then maybe he's killed by a mob or killed carelessly or accidentally by Homelander, like Homelander's doing something else and he accidentally elbows him in the face and kills him, which would be so funny because he's like, oh,
That would have been better than the symbolism of his death on the show.
The telegraphed, boring, contrived, uninteresting, unrealistic, power scaling, like a disproportionate way that he died, yes, it would have been better. Anything would have been better than that. Like, why show him swimming slow? Like, literally, he went down to the Mariana Trench and he swam 1 mile an hour. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. They never showed him that to be a slow swimmer before. It would be implied that he swims fast because he's the sea guy. And he went down to the Mariana Trench. Like, you didn't.
So you're like,
if I have to headcanon and the guys and the writers have to go in after and say, oh, by the way, it was actually this and that, you did a bad job writing your show. If you have to explain it after the fact and all these people, like, you just wrote the character. You just did a bad job writing that character. Really quickly, last one, Firecracker. She had a little bit of, she was kind of an interesting character. She had one episode arc showing her struggling with accepting Homelander as God, which was interesting. But it wasn't satisfying because in the same episode she dies. Like, we didn't even get a chance to feel her character have that arc at all. Like, it should have happened sooner or went longer or something like that, or some more conflict with O-Father, who was like obviously all on board with him. And she just has like a 1 episode arc and then is just killed off. Sister Sage, the dumbest smart character ever written, in my point. The dumbest smart character ever written, in my opinion. Just things happen, and then she's like, "It's all part of the plan," which is such a cop out because we don't see her scheming or doing anything interesting. And then the few times, and I know you said, "Oh, emotions are like her weakness," but it just felt so. She didn't accomplish anything. I mean, maybe she accomplished something in that other show, V1 or whatever the show was. Gen V. She accomplished something in Gen V, but she didn't really do anything of value in The Boys except for create a MacGuffin and, oh, let me solve the math for you really quick. Oh, boom. Okay, now Kimiko has radiation power, which I thought was just such a stupid thing to give her. And she just does nothing. She's playing both sides, but she didn't really do anything interesting. She didn't work Homelander in a way that was like interesting or effective. She didn't work Boys in a way that was interesting and effective. And then the one thing that she was going to do failed. She's like, oh my gosh, I don't understand why he gave him the V1, which it doesn't make sense because now we're going to talk about Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy is what Clara would have wanted. He just saw a video of Clara burnt and stumpy jacking Homeboy off, and it's disgusting and awful. He already despises Homelander. He hates him. He doesn't think he deserves immortality. And then for him to just change heart in the last second, he still has to live with him for eternity because he thinks that's what Claire would want. A character that we've never seen him interact with, and a depth of compassion and empathy that's never even been hinted at from Soldier Boy in the entire show. He's been shown to be this gruff, like whatever asshole character. He's never shown any compassion or sympathy or empathy at all in the show for anyone. Yes.
I will arguably go back to his first scene with another Super League, Crimson Countess. He was heartbroken.
She cared way more about her than he ever showed any care about Clara.
But what I'm saying is he was heartbroken. Like, you could see the tears in his eyes. Like, he was heartbroken.
Didn't see any of that about Clara. He didn't even seem that upset about what happened with Homelander. And then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? That's what Claire would have wanted, for you to be invincible. The sniveling, awful person that he hates. It just didn't really make sense. Even the characters said, even Sister Sage was right. It didn't make any sense. She didn't understand. Neither did we, Sister Sage. We didn't understand either.
I think it is because that's also Clara's son.
The headcanon I get, but it's like the show is supposed to show or tell you at least like some of the motivations for these characters, so we have some sort of hint of what's going to happen, or else it's just all just we have to move the plot along. This has to happen so we can move the plot along, which is what it felt like. Just and it ended up meaningless. He gets a V1, nothing changes. The boys just run away. They're nearby, and then they just escape. They just escaped. They just ran away.
It made schizophrenia worse.
Huh?
I think it made his schizophrenia worse.
But like he does nothing. He gets all this power and he does nothing. He's unleashed. The tape comes out. He has no reason to hold back. And we don't ever see him not hold back. We never see him go scorched earth. And he was set up as such a terrifying villain. You never knew who he was going to kill or what he was going to do when he was on screen. And then in the last season, multiple times he gets knocked out or incapacitated. So you lose all this terror for this character that was so terrifying at a time where he's supposed to be the most terrifying and unhinged. And he's incapacitated multiple times. And then there's that weird scene that was so cringy and awful where like Terror is like having like a vision of having sex. Oh, you like that? I guess that's funny, but like it just takes away from from what we're supposed to feel for this character before he's
so
down.
we're supposed to see this character that he has one tantrum at least every season, like a child.
But you take away all of the bite of the character. You make him uninteresting. You make me not care if he gets taken down and killed and destroyed. You've made him weak and pathetic and impotent before he is those things. When he's supposed to be the most terrifying villain. This is the series finale. This is what we've all been watching the show for. Anthony Starr, unhinged, scorched earth, doing some crazy stuff and just letting loose. We never see that, and we see him lessened before the end, and it weakens the story, in my opinion. And then the fact that they just like literally just setting up Vought Rising the whole season, sacrificing the series finale of The Boys, and Homelander just gets put on ice again at the end, which is like so. And the boys didn't know that he was put on ice. They were probably fully expecting to see Soldier Boy there. They didn't have a plan to deal with him. You're telling me Kimiko and Butcher, and they didn't know Ryan was coming. So Kimiko and Butcher were going to take down Soldier Boy and Homelander by themselves?
I don't think anyone that went on that mission prepared.
Bro, come on. Come on.
No one expected to come back. No one expected to come back. Even Mother's Milk said it earlier in the season that if he holds out hope that he's going to come out the other side alive and see his family, he's not going to be able to do what he needs to.
But they didn't even have like any sort of the plans that the boys have had. Theirs was pretty straightforward, convenient, easy. And then he randomly remembers that there's these sex tunnels, and
no, they use them from they know about that because they looked at the blueprints from the last season.
Huh?
They saw the blueprints from the last season when they were setting up to protect Singer.
It was a lot. It was a lot at stake, and then they just went overboard with the Trump allegory stuff. The writers.
The best part is they didn't even write, or they wrote this before half the stuff happened. Come on.
He said multiple times that it's a Trump allegory. Literally part
of the golden statue of Homelander. The golden statue of Homelander. They couldn't have planned that.
Bro, okay, and then the Elon Musk character?
Oh, that's perfect. And the AI images of him as Jesus, after what Trump just said, they couldn't have predicted. Come on.
They literally did that in reaction to him. What do you mean?
No, this stuff happened before the show or after the show was written. Look up and see when the show was being produced, because the golden statue was in the past month.
Bro, they rewrite stuff on set all the time while they're filming stuff to go with current events.
So you're telling me this show is actively airing? No, Aaron. I want you to hear this. You're telling me this show is actively airing. They went back and edited the show at that point when they've already sent
they went back and edited the show. I'm saying they wrote it in response to Trump, clearly.
No, but I'm saying all the stuff they made fun of didn't happen yet. That's why they're saying they're like The Simpsons, because they predicted this stuff. Look it up. This stuff had not happened when they were writing the show.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's true, but clearly the guy is set up to be a Trump allegory, and it became more and more clear season
It
3
wasn't
had.
trying to be subtle.
It wasn't trying to be
wasn't.
subtle, but it also made a very interesting character uninteresting. Instead of being a hero who would rather be loved than hated and has ultimate power, like instead of exploring that character and that ideal, who's like this, who's this weak man child, he's just a Trump allegory. He's just much less interesting. He just is less interesting.
He's not just a Trump allegory. He's a lot
And
of
then
these.
the show's going to age poorly because when Trump is no longer president and people try to watch the show 10 years from now, which no one's going to do because the ending was so horrible, nobody's going to be interested in rewatching the show. And they're not going to get the jokes and the Trump allegory stuff because they won't have the frame of reference anymore. So it's not going to age very well either. So what was the point of the of the V1, the virus? Vought is the villain. At the end of the show, Vought, nothing bad happens to Vought, and I get, yeah, okay, they're setting up, but nothing was satisfying then. And then also at the end, there's so many memes about like, I'll suck your dick, I'll eat shit.
That was the best ending for him. He doesn't know what to do. He's panicking.
Who said, but who? There's so many memes about it. Like if every villain trying to say that line, and there's so many other villains that
Because
like had power and then had
No,
their power
because-
and they were babies, and they try to lash out at the end. They try to. It just was like it was just poorly done.
No,
and the
I will die on this hill. That is a perfect death for Homelander. The groveling, the pathetic whimpering, every bit of it. Because
it was so rushed.
No, it was perfect. It was he lost his powers. He saw the blood on his forehead, and he saw Butcher. He saw death. And we become our true selves at the moment of death, do we not? And that is who Homelander is. Even think about the tantrums he throws, the little crying pities. He doesn't know what to do to get Butcher to keep him alive. That's why he even offers, you want me to get a shapeshifter to turn into Becca? I can do that. Because he doesn't understand that even if she turns into Becca, that's not going to replace the love.
It just was cringy and not. It just wasn't satisfying. It just wasn't
No, that
satisfying.
was 10 out of 10. Beautiful.
I mean, I hard disagree there.
Because he is not a villain. He is not a bad guy. He's a bad guy, but he is not the Joker. He is not the Mandarin. He is not Thanos or any of these people where if you strip away if you take Thanos and you put him in the body of human, which they've done in comics, he doesn't care. He still tries to take over the earth. He still fights and does everything. You take Joker, who has no powers, he'll still try to kill Superman without even a second thought. And if Superman gets in his face like an injustice, he laughed. The second Superman put his hand into his chest, the Joker kept laughing. Because that's who he was at his core.
Right. But there are other characters like Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings. He's a sniveling character, and he lost his power, and he still lashed out and tried to kill people. Like there are lots of villains who have power in Return of the King, I believe. He loses control over the king.
He falls to his death, running away. Doesn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, he's not like, I'll eat your shit, I'll suck your dick. It's just
that is what if Homelander cornered somebody and was about to kill them, that's what he would want them to offer. He's trying to do in that moment what he thinks people would want to hear or want to do, because that's what he would want to hear. He would want to humiliate.
But he knows that Butcher is the harbinger. He knows Butcher is going to kill him.
So he has no other. So what does he have to lose by saying that stuff? What's the worst?
He obviously doesn't have anything to gain because he knows Butcher's going to kill him. He knows offering to eat shit and suck dick is not going to save his life. He's not stupid.
He is stupid.
He's a baby, but he's not stupid.
Oh, he's very stupid. Name one smart thing he's done. Without Sage's help, what's one smart thing he's done?
He killed all those people on that plane.
How is that smart? He's manipulative. I will agree, and I will give you manipulative, but he's not smart. He knows how to play people. He knows how to be manipulative.
Is a little bit smart. You have to be a little bit smart to manipulate people.
I will give you that, but he's not like a chess.
But he's not a complete idiot.
He is though. Really think about it. Yeah, he killed those people. What else did he do? He released Compound V into the world and tried to make supervillains. That almost blew up in his face.
I mean, for me, it just was an unsatisfying character arc.
That's even a good.
It retroactively ruins the whole character for me. I don't have any desire to see the show or the story again because of that ending. It's just that's the only thing about the show that I'm going to remember now is that, and it's just like unsatisfying.
No, that's perfect. 10 out of 10.
I mean, I get it that it's some people's fantasy to see the Trump allegory saying that stuff, but I just didn't.
It's not the Trump allegory. It's because that's who he is at his core. I
can see that there's an argument to be made there that, you know, at the moment of death, he goes back to the baby man child and he doesn't know and he wants other people. I see that, like, what you're saying.
Let's go back to, like, remember the lady, like, several seasons, season 2 or 3, after he got rid of Edgar. He was at that meeting where the lady asked about the EBITDA margins. He has no idea what that was, and instead of asking, he gets mad at her. And then later on, when Starlight's trying to talk about we need to go find Soldier Boy, he starts talking about the EBITDA margins. He's a child trying to sound smart.
I could see. I mean, that there's an argument to be made for what you're saying, but and obviously Anthony Starr, bless his heart, really sells the performance. Obviously, it didn't feel earned, and it felt a little rushed. Like for him to immediately go to that, and he wasn't powerless for long enough. I mean, what he did obviously was great. Like the way they showed him being powerless was really interesting, and obviously Anthony Starr did a great job. But just immediately going to that, it needed more time to breathe or more of an episode. And I feel like I always knew it was going to end in this unsatisfying way because they were stretching it out and doing all this side crap. And I was like, yeah, because they're going to do some awful thing they're going to do some awful thing to Homelander, and then there's just going to be nowhere for the show to go. And surprisingly, there was like 30 minutes after that. None of it that I found very satisfying. Like Huey opens a radio shop. Like I know that he loved Billy Joel, but he never showed any.
He bought the same tech store he used to work in.
Okay, I guess.
That's growth because he couldn't even ask for a raise.
And yeah, okay.
But he comes back and buys it.
And then Kimiko, like she's radioactive, and she just goes off to Paris to give everyone around her cancer.
I think she's only radioactive when she used the power because Soldier Boy didn't give it.
They never said that. They didn't say that.
Soldier Boy.
Have to say that.
Soldier Boy.
Huh?
Soldier Boy didn't get anyone cancer, so why would she?
Because she was made a different. I don't know, but they said it that she's giving them all cancer.
That was after she used her power.
But she wasn't using her power. She was highly radioactive when not using her power. And Huey said
no, that was after she used her power to get rid of Sister Sage, and then they checked her for radiation.
I don't know, bro. It was a stretch, maybe. There was a lot of stuff that I did not find super satisfying. I think we hit all the characters. But you did make some interesting points, so I will give them to you about Homelander's character, arguably in universe, it being satisfying, but as a show finale and as a way to wrap up this show, I found it rather rushed and unsatisfying. But we have an audience. Anyone watching this, please let us know in the comments if you thought the ending was satisfying or unsatisfying, if you enjoyed the final deaths, or if you didn't enjoy them, you thought they should have gone the other way. If anyone has any interesting headcanon they'd like to share, please drop that below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chris, I'm the Riffing Film Guy. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe.
I said